Hi, this is Katrina Sargent, owner and creator of Devil Doll Custom Creations. Today we're going to be doing accessories as keychains, phone grips, and badge rails using UV nail foil sheets. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. Hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I post a new video, which is every Wednesday. Like always, I will have everything linked in the description below, including a coupon code. Since I am using UV resin, I am going to be using a respirator and gloves, and I'm using Imagination 3D's doming port for the UV light. I will have that linked in the description below. This company is one of my absolute favorites. These are my two favorite nail foil glues. Either one is awesome. These are some pop sockets. And I'm going to be using clear acrylic badge rail blanks and keychains, all from 3rd degree laser blanks. First, you have to prep your surface. So I am taking a sanding block and sanding and scuffing up that surface really good, and then taking some rubbing alcohol and removing any debris off of it. These acrylic blanks, you need to remove the protective coating that is on top on one side only. You're going to want to do this on the front of your keychain or badge rail. I'll explain at the end why. So I'm going to start out first with a black pop socket. I'm not doing anything else besides prepping my pop socket. This is a really pretty floral with metallic accents foil sheet. I'm just going to cut it to fit my pop socket. And then I'm going to add the UV glue. The thinner the coat you do, the less chances you have of the glue kind of rippling. So I do a very thin coat, but you want to make sure everything is coated though. If you don't put glue on a certain place, it will not stick. Put it under the light for 60 seconds. Let it cool off just a few seconds before adding my foil sheet. When you add your foil sheet, once you lay it on that glue, you cannot remove it and readjust it. So make sure your entire surface is covered with the sheet before. I work from the middle out, and then I get something to kind of add pressure as I rub. You can do this just with your fingers, or you can do it with your vinyl scraper, whatever you have on hand. If you do not rub enough and you go to lift that carrier sheet and some foil stays on that clear carrier sheet, you can lay it back down and continue to rub. These black pop sockets do not have a little lip like my white ones have. You're going to see me, I do a white one next. So it's a little bit different than just rubbing the entire surface easily like these black ones. And then you just slowly remove your carrier sheet to see if everything is adhered correctly. If it's not, go ahead and lay it back down, rub some more, and then slowly remove the rest. If you go slow, you'll notice if anything pulls up or not. Then once you're at this step, all you have to do is UV resin the top like a dome. This is where this doming assistant comes in so handy. This is my favorite UV resin. I get it on Amazon, and a silicone makeup brush. You can absolutely use a popsicle stick. You don't have to have these silicone brushes, but I had them and I love them, so I use them. This doming assistant comes with like a little spatula. You can put your items on there so you don't have to worry about holding it or having fingerprints on the sides. Bring it up closer to your face to make sure everything is covered. What I do is I put a dollop of the UV resin right in the middle, and then I pull from the middle to the edges. If you add too much at one time, your edges can spill over. So you want to just do a little bit and then check it. And if you have to add a little bit more, if the edges start pulling back, just add another little dot in the middle. Then pull it back to the edges and see where it goes. I let it sit for a few seconds. Once I have it fully covered, I hit it with my torch to pop any micro bubbles and then put it under my light. This doming assistant is amazing. It definitely is worth the money if you do a lot of stuff with UV resin. So now I'm going to move on to my acrylic badge drill blanks. So I'm going to do the exact same things, add the UV glue, put it under the light for 60 seconds, add my foil sheet, and I will show you how to fix a mess up because I messed this one up a little bit. I'll show you how I fixed it in a minute. So this paw print badge drill is barely small enough to fit on these sheets. So what I ended up accidentally doing is when I laid it down, I did not have it fully covered. So you're gonna see the very top of the paw pads not covered. So I just cut off another piece of the foil sheet and added it to it. Because if you were going to rub this without having anything on it, the edge of this sheet has like a clear edge to it. It's going to sit on your glue and then it's not going to have any design at all. So I just kind of pieced in another section to it before I rubbed on this. Not all of the foil sheets have that plastic edge. But the ones that do, you need to keep that in mind when you're adding it to your surfaces. Also, if you're having to piece things together, if your design is a pattern or something that needs to keep in mind, this was complete random pink with white daisies on it. So I was able to piece in a section and not look really weird. Keep that in mind. If you're having to piece in, you might have to cut off another area from your sheet to get it to blend in. When I'm adding UV resin to anything that has hard cuts in it, like these little paw pads are, I go from the middle to the edges, but go little at a time. You do not want to add too much UV resin at a time because believe me, you will have spillage into those little cuts of the paws. So it's better to go a little at a time and then keep adding a little bit more if it pulls back from the edges than to overfill these little paw prints. see this pop socket has like a little lip on the edge. It's not completely flat like the black ones were. They're a little more challenging to get it all the way to the edges fully covered. So I will show you how I fix that once this is done. I just keep putting in rotation, put one in, take one out. I let my vinyl UV resin coat cure for at least 3 to 4 minutes under the UV light at a time to get a full cured finish. I get asked all the time how I display or package my pop sockets. This is how I do it. I will have it linked in the description. I've added a sticker with my company's name and social medias, a business card, and I add it into a 4x6 bag. I can add a little hanging piece if I'm going to be displaying it at a craft fair, or this is how I ship it to my customers as well. So I actually added a little bit too much glue on this, so the glue rippled under my UV light. So when I try to remove the foil, it didn't completely adhere even after putting it back down and rubbing. So I'm going to disguise this by adding a small temporary tattoo to the middle of this after I add a thin layer of UV resin. You can use a water slide, which I do on my other badge reels. So I want this one to sparkle. So I am adding a little bit of Feather Bear Blings Colon to my UV resin top coat. So you barely need any for these teeny tiny badge reels. If you add too much, it will make your whole badge reel look gray because it's too much in there. So what I do is I kind of just add a little bit onto the dollop of UV resin I've added already. You can absolutely mix this in a measuring cup and then add it mixed onto the badge reel. Again, this is like the paw print. Be careful around those hard cuts. Once you have spillage over, it's kind of hard to get rid of after. You can take a craft knife and kind of crack it away, but you have a chance of breaking a piece of your acrylic blank. On these keychains that have a lot of cutouts, just be careful around the edges. You don't want massive spill into the holes or anything like that, but make sure everything is covered. It's kind of easy to kind of overlook a certain place. So I kind of pick it up, I shift it in the light, I really pay attention on making sure it's covered. The same thing goes with the UV resin. It likes to pull back around those cutouts a little more than around the edge. I'm going to show you how I used to do my keychains and badge reels before I got the doming assistant. I just used Dixie cups as my holder. So this one I want it even more sparkly. So I'm adding a bigger cut glitter. This is French Quarter Ice from Mr. Nola's Glitter. It's a beautiful opal that is slightly larger than the ultra fine glitter. So I wouldn't have done this large of a cut on badge reels, but this keychain is fairly large, so it works and it looks beautiful. So this is an acrylic white badge rail. So the surface is white. My UV foil sheet is transparent in a lot of places. So it's going to show this white background. Here is one of my tattoo sheets that came in a bigger pack when I used for my tumblers. So I'm just going to cut out a little butterfly, and you're going to apply it like you would to your body. So you're going to remove the clear carrier sheet, turn it upside down, and add a wet cloth to the back until it releases. Remember, I added a layer of UV resin between the foil sheet and this tattoo. I'm cutting close to the edge just so I can try to center it as best as possible. All right, let's say you did not get the edges as well as you would like. So I'm going to add rhinestones around the edge. So I don't rhinestone that often, so I don't have all the accessories. So what I use is a lid to a condiment container, and that's where I dump my rhinestones in. You do need a katana and super tight fabric fusion. I have added it into a little bottle with a fine point nozzle. The katana is basically just a wax tip for you to be able to pick up your rhinestones and add them onto your project. So the reason why I do this little lid is it keeps everything contained, and when you have some rhinestones that are flipped the opposite way, you can take that little lid and tap it on your surface and they will flip over. So I just add a little bit of my fusion tack at a time, add the rhinestones, and just keep following that edge all the way around until you get back to the very beginning. If you add too much of your glue at a time, it can dry and it's just kind of a waste. So you don't need that much glue to apply these rhinestones. You're going to notice on the katana you have a wax tip, which is used to pick up the rhinestones, and then the opposite side is a metal tip that is used for you to readjust things, tap things in place if they're not lined up. You want to try to keep them lined up as you're going. It's easier than trying to fix them later once you get all of them on. And then you're just gonna let this glue dry. I allow mine to dry a couple days before I give it to anybody or sell it. It might not need that long, but I do. So now my little flip-flop keychain. This is why you put the sheets on the front. They do not have color on the back of the sheet. You can do dual sides if you would like. You can spray paint it a color, whatever you would like to do. So this is ribbon. I have chose this like sparkly pink. So you're gonna wanna cut off a nice section and then knot it on one side. Okay, on the opposite side, you're going to cut your ribbon at an angle because this is what you're going to be feeding through all those areas. Burn the edges just so it doesn't fray as you're working. If you fold your ribbon in half before you start working, it kind of makes it a little easier. So you're going to be going from the back side first. So you're going to be adding your ribbon all the way to that knot you made on the opposite end on one of the bottom circles. Then you are going to feed your ribbon through one of the top slots, kind of where your toes would go, and then pull it as tight as you want. I leave a little bit of extra ribbon for the ribbon to move and shift on the keychain, and then you're going to be feeding it back through the opposite slot and then back through the bottom hole. That's where you're going to be then tying your ribbon in a knot and cutting off the extra and burning the edges so they don't fray. If you have to kind of adjust your ribbon around so it doesn't twist and turn, so it's the right side up on both sides of the flip-flop, that would be the time you do it before you tie your knot. So I scuff up my badge rails before I add them just to make sure it adheres great and it doesn't fall off. The same way I prepped my front of my badge rails. I use super tight Eco Glue on these badge rails. You can do 2-part epoxy if you would like. You can't use UV resin because it won't cure because the badge rail is opaque. You can use heavy duty Velcro, so the pieces would be changeable for your clients. There's many different ways to do this. This is just one of the ways I like to do it if I'm doing a single face onto these badge rails. And then you're going to let your glue dry on a flat surface. I'm sorry I lost the video to my paw print in Nurse. I just added a water slide to them and then UV resined them again. I hope everyone liked this video. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I post new videos. And thank you everyone for your continued support.